Good morning, everybody. Think we're live. Everybody. Think we're live. Everybody. There we go. Turn off the volume so that we don't get a funny echo. Welcome to the studio, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. It is week 2 of January. And if this is your first video that you're getting from me, welcome. We do this every Monday morning where I talk through what the kids are learning in class and what's going on. We talk through each class. So if you're catching the recording, you can watch the timestamps. You don't have to watch the whole video. You can just watch the part about your kiddo's class. And then make sure you watch the housekeeping section because we'll go over some important information there. If you're not a video person and you got this email and you clicked on it and you were like, whoa, that is not the way I like to get my information, go to the very bottom and you'll see a Cliff Notes in the bottom of the email where it's literally the notes that I'm reading off of. So if you're like, I would just like the bullet points, please, Allison, then that's where you go. Sound good? All right, so we're gonna dive in here. It is, I gotta grab my intro section. Hang on, I got this. Here we go. It is week 2 of January and everyone has class this week. Okay. And that'll be the same for next week too. We thought that we were going to take off Martin Luther King Day with the preschoolers, but because of the snow day that happened last week, we're going to go ahead and meet on Martin Luther King Day. So this is week 2. Everybody has class this week. And we're going to talk through kind of each individual section. We'll talk through what's going on with those snow days. Okay. All right, let's go through some preschool classes. Now, I didn't bring any examples with preschool class, but hopefully you caught some of the pictures that went up on usually Instagram stories is where I put them, and then they end up on the Facebook stories because the two things talk to each other. So hopefully you got to see a little bit about what was happening in classes. We had some smaller groups last week because of weather. Monday classes in Flatwoods and Tuesday classes in Liberty. You guys didn't meet because of the weather and because we had the ability to take it off. There was an extra day in the month that we were able to put those classes without having to do makeups. It was a really easy decision for us to go ahead and take those off. So my Monday and my Tuesday classes, make sure that you check your email. If you were like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that the schedule had changed. Make sure you check your email. It's also noted in your school year account. We went ahead and adjusted your calendar. So those new classes do populate on your calendar. For my Monday people, it happened that we took Martin Luther King Day, which is next Monday. We took that day and made it a class day. And for my Tuesday people, what we did was the 28th of January was supposed to be an off day. We went ahead and just put your class down there. All right. So if you missed class last week, Monday, Tuesday people, you're okay. Don't worry. When you come this week, you're going to be doing week 1's lesson. So you're going to do the Wild Thing lesson that we did last week. You're going to get to play in the dark in the preschool room. We're going to look at some art of Vincent van Gogh. We're going to make some monsters in our journals. And what else is there? We're going to draw fantasy landscapes with chalk pastel. So if you're in a Thursday or a Friday class, when you come to class this week, we're moving on to week 2. So at that time, we're going to read a book called Freight Train, which is a really simple book. It's got some great illustrations, not a lot of text, but some great illustrations. We'll read Freight Train, and then we're going to do some sponge painting. And we'll still play in the dark. So that preschool classroom will be still set with black lights. My multimedia students. So we're going to go through each level of multimedia classes, starting with our K thirds. And I've got to rearrange my desk here because, of course, the K thirds are on the bottom. Now, I won't always bring these paintings, and you're going to see why. It's because they're ginormous. But I thought I wanted to show you at least the scale. Just, oh, look, see, there's my green screen. Just so you can kind of get an appreciation for what's happening in classes. So we have these ginormous pieces of paper. They're 18 by 24, kind of poster size. We taped a pretty white border, and the kids started painting on them last week. So this is the first layer. And it's got maybe 1, maybe 2 colors, and it's scrape painted. So we have a lot of texture happening in there. But it's not really thick. The paints that we use come from their Hobby Lobby's brand. They're called Master's Touch, and they're a heavy body acrylic. So they're real glossy and shiny, and then they're also they thick. But we used, you can see our artist here in the picture, we used a credit card, Starbucks gift card, hotel keys. My parents travel a lot. And so they, until they bought their RV, they stayed in a lot of hotels. And so they saved all their paintbrushes for me. They still do to this day. So I get all my paintbrushes from my parents. We have a lot of those. So they use those cards to do the scraping on their painting. And those are just a couple examples. I like this one because you could see the more colors. Look, lots of great colors on there. Like it's not just the single color. It's harder to see on some of the others. They are always analogous, so they're going to be next to each other on the color wheel. We don't cross the color wheel because otherwise it makes it gross. They also looked at a lot of art. So we looked at some abstract art, both contemporary and kind of famous abstract art, like Jackson Pollock and Jean Miro, and then some contemporary artists. So that because the paintings they're going to be making are abstract art. Now, this week, they're going to take these paintings and they're going to have a discussion on different types of shapes, whether that be a geometric shape, something we can name, like a triangle, a circle, an oval, or if it's something that is more organic. So something like a kidney bean shape, right? That doesn't really have a name in terms of shapes. So we're going to have a discussion about that, and then they're going to pick their color family and they're going to add a second layer to their paintings. That's all dry. So on top of that blue, if I want to paint orange, those aren't going to mix together. Now, if I make it really sheer, I'm going to see through it, and some of that blue is going to show through, and that glazing creates a brownish tone, but it doesn't mix together and make brown. So they're going to have a little bit of color theory, a little bit of like a geometry lesson, and then they'll add that next layer. Now, if you're in a K-3 class and you didn't get to come to class last week because of weather, or because you were sick, or because you were still traveling, or whatever it was, then your paper is still blank. So the first thing we're going to have them do is paint their background. So they'll go ahead and they'll scrape paint their background. They'll listen in on the geometry lesson, and hopefully they can still get that next layer painted. If you came to a makeup last week, then you've got this background step done. If you didn't, we're going to try to get you caught up in class this week. Okay. So if you're thinking, oh crap, they missed their first art class and I need to get them scheduled for a makeup, hold tight on that. Okay. Because if you didn't make a makeup last week, or like for Liberty, because our makeups happen on Wednesdays, if you're in a Thursday class, you still could make up on this Wednesday and you'd still have step one done, right? Does that make sense? But if you're coming into class with a blank sheet of paper, we're going to try to get you caught up. So you may not need that makeup lesson. We will always try to get you caught up in class. And then, as time goes on, if you need more time, that makeup is available, but we're always going to try. If you miss a class, don't get to a makeup before the next class, we're going to try to get you caught up. Doesn't always happen, but we really try. If you're not sure, like your kid comes home and you're like, do you need to do a makeup lesson? How are you doing on your project? And they're like, I don't know. Just send us a message. I won't know right off the top of my head. So like calling me isn't going to do me any good. Don't call and ask me that, because I don't know the answer. That is something where I have to make a note, talk to the teacher. We need to look in the cubby. We need to have a conversation. So it's a little bit longer process, but we can get that answer for you. So send me a message. Facebook, Instagram, email are the best way to do it. And that way I can make a note to touch base with your kid's teacher, and we'll let you know if you need to make up. Okay. All right. So that's our K-3. So geometric organic shapes is what's happening for that next layer of the painting. For our multimedia's 4th and 5th grade classes, all right, I gotta unearth the pile here. I only brought one because there's not much to see. This is the canvas. So this is, but I did want you to see the scale. So this is the size that they are working on. This is an 11 by 14 inch canvas. It is painted light yellow and it has a gradient. So this artist here is working on a background that she has already painted. It's light yellow at the top. It's dark yellow at the bottom. It's not really showing up true colors here on the screen, but that's okay. You get the idea. They painted their backgrounds this week. They looked at art. So there's a snippet of our slideshow up there in the top corner, where we looked at different pet portraits throughout history, as well as contemporary artists who paint pet portraits. It's a great way to make money as an artist, and commissions is pet portraits. So they looked at art, they brainstormed their subject, and they painted their backgrounds. This week, we're going to get those drawn in. So we're going to have our photo reference to work from, and we're going to get those drawn in so we can start blocking in animals. So we can like block in the main color of this animal's face. And I say animal, and I'll interchange like animal and pet, because pet portrait is great because there's alliteration and it just rolls off the tongue. But if you're painting your giraffe, it's obviously not a pet. I mean, maybe, but probably not. So it can be any animal. So that's what's going on in this step. Some of our kids are going to like look at their photo and they're going to like, woo, and they're going to draw it on there with no problem. Some of them are really going to struggle. It depends. Honestly, for me, it depends on the day. And I'm a really good drawer, but there are days that I sit down to draw and it just doesn't work. And that's what I tell the kids. Like some days, like most days I got it. Like most days I can draw anything I want. And then every now and then I have a day where nothing works, and that's okay. So if, you know, your class day ends up being one of those days, the kids come in to draw their portrait on here and it is not happening, they may work the entire class period on that pencil drawing and not touch any painting. And if that happens, technically they're behind in terms of where we like benchmarks to be to finish this project on time. But maybe they'll be a really fast painter in week 3. We don't know. We'll see. All right, so everybody at this point, once we got the background painted, this project more than any other project the entire year, for every single class, this is the project that I will have some kids that finish by week 3, and then I have some kids that need 17,000 makeups to get it done. Okay, it depends on so many things. And so, so they're gonna work, our goal would be to get them sketched out and started painting and blocking in. But we're going to have a huge range. We're going to have some artists that are going to be like the entire thing is blocked in, and then you're going to have some artists that haven't finished a pencil sketch, and that's okay. We know that's going to happen. If you've missed your 4th and 5th, or you missed your Plattwoods homeschool, I'm going to talk about Liberty homeschool separately. If you missed that class last week and you didn't, and you came in for a makeup, then you've got this step done. Okay. If you didn't come in for a makeup, and no judgment, it was, I know the roads were terrible. If you didn't come in for a makeup, please know we do not judge you. But what we're going to do for this week is you will skip the background step and go straight into the drawing and blocking in step, and we'll come back to the background. Mostly because if we do the background, then it's wet and you can't draw on it. So and then you're kind of like just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. So we're going to go ahead and go straight on a blank canvas with you drawing, and then we'll come back and hit that background when we're done. All right, so that's the plan for our 4th and 5th in our homeschool. Now, if you are homeschool in Liberty, you are a Monday class, and that was the day that we closed. You have a double session today. That means you're coming in just a minute, right? You're coming in at 11 today, and we're having a class from 11 to 12 that's going to do the week 1. And then from 12 to 1, yeah. So 11 to 12 is week 1's lesson. 12 to 1 is the lesson that's supposed to happen this week where we'll do the blocking in. So if that doesn't work for you and you know, double session, 2 hours of class is too much, don't worry. Come to the regular class and we'll do that same thing where you'll just start with the drawing. We'll paint your background later. Okay. All right. My 6th, 7th, 8th, 12th. All right. Sorry, I gotta unearth a pile here. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 12th are doing altered paintings. The size that they are working on is 8 by 10. This is a canvas panel. It's blank, but they've already started like putting stuff on it, which is amazing. I can't wait to see what they do with this. So the idea is instead of starting with a blank canvas, they are starting with an image. So these are images that they've selected. This is what they did in week 1. Images that they've selected, and they've prepped them on their canvas. It's got a lot of green in it, so it's hard to see what it is. Wait a minute. Ooh, I like this one. One more. Okay. So they've got all of these prepped, and then what they'll do is, oh, I lost my light. Oh, there it goes again. I ordered new lights, you guys, for my videoing setup. They will be here by 10 p.m. tonight. But they're going to use acrylic paints and acrylic paint pens. A lot of people know them as Posca pens, and they will be keeping some parts of it, leaving it untouched, some parts of the image. They will be altering other parts of it, and they will be completely omitting parts of the picture by painting over the top of them. So I brought some examples. These are teacher examples. And try to kind of keep it at an angle so that you can, otherwise the green, you know, disappears into the green screen, but there's a good example. Another example. That one has a lot of green in it. So anyways, so they'll get to work on that this next week. The first week, all they did was get their slideshow. So they looked at, up here in this corner here is a snippet of their slideshow and their contemporary artists that they looked at. And then they found their image. So this is a picture of them finding images, looking through magazines and you know, being silly and finding their picture. And then they got them glued down onto the Canvas panel. So they're ready to start this week with the painting step. So this week they'll just, you know, they're so great. They're teenagers and they will just work. You'd be like, take it and run, and they will do it. If you missed this class last week, it's not a big deal. All right, we're gonna get you caught up in class this week. So if you missed, as my 6th, 7th, or 8th, 12th multimedia people, if you missed it, we will get you caught up this week. There should be no problem with that. Because there isn't a dry time step, unlike the other two classes where we need it to dry before we move on. This project doesn't have that, so they should be able to just roll one step into the other. All right, creative explorations. I didn't bring anything. Gosh darn it, I should have. But they had a lot of fun. They played in the dark. Hopefully you saw some of the pictures. I know I posted one from Flatwoods on Facebook as a post, not just as a story, and had them doing the shadow tracing, which is a really fun invitation. These guys over here, this is a Liberty class, and they're painting vertically on a winter landscape. We've got black and white Play-Doh, we've got snowflake cutting, and I know the Liberty class especially really grew, so we've got a lot of new students in there, and so it's fun. It's fun to have the energy of a little bit bigger class. Drawing 101. Hang on, I gotta switch all my stuff. I have a pile down here. I need a bigger desk, is what I need. All right, we're gonna talk through some Drawing 101 stuff. So my Drawing 101 classes, yeah, I got them. So in week 1, we did kitchen utensils and we made machines out of them. And so our objective, so we had like 2-3 objectives for this lesson. So picture a whole bunch of kitchen utensils: potato ricer, corkscrew, what else did I have? A whisk. I liked ones that moved. I had tongs. I had a silicone pastry brush. I can't remember, but I had a lot. I just took them out of my kitchen for Liberty, and Flatwoods teachers did the same. So, so we had all of them set out on the table, which was fun. It was fun just to talk about what everything did, right? And then we practiced our observational drawing skills, and we drew those objects in our book, but we drew them in an assemblage. So like we hooked them together in our drawings, and then our goal was to show moving parts. And how do we show movement in this like make-believe machine that we've created? So we're practicing observational drawing skills, and we're trying to show movement. And I think they absolutely nailed it. So I try to make sure that I get this the right direction for these artists. So these are our like drawing kindergarten, 2nd grade, for 2nd graders. Lots of really great observation skills in terms of relative size, right? You know, the whisk is the same length as our wine opener. Of details in the little like mechanisms, right? And then lots of movement in here. This was one of my favorite for movement. Like, it's almost musical. And compositionally, this is so fun to see how well composed this is, and takes up the entire page. This one here, another great observational drawing skill. They colored it. This is green. That's why it disappears into the green screen, but we got maybe one more. Nope, I think that's, hang on. Nope, the other one's a Drawing 102. All right, so that's what we did in our week 1 of Drawing 101. If you missed week 1 of Drawing 101, or any class, but we'll just talk through Drawing 101, with the exception of Monday's homeschool class in Liberty. We'll talk about you in just a second. If you missed Drawing 101 last week, you can make it up anytime. So the drawing lessons, unlike multimedia, they don't really build on each other in terms of like project step 1, project step 2, project step 3. Now they may go together. There's a general theme for the month, but you don't have to, like, if you don't do it this month, you're not going to finish your project. That's not where this is. So if you, anytime in the month of January or February, you want to come in and do this lesson, we'd love to work through it with you. Now, if you are in Drawing 101 in Liberty on Monday for homeschool, that's the only exception. We have a class today that's doubling up. So you'll actually do your Drawing 101 lesson for week 2 at your normal class time. And then right after that, we're going to double up and do the week 3 lesson or the week 1 lesson. Telling you guys, so confusing. I can't even imagine how you feel. I know how I feel. But that's what's coming for Drawing 101 homeschool Liberty people, is a double session. Okay. Take a breath, drink some coffee. Look, it's me. We're in the same shirt. All right, we're going to talk about Drawing 102 classes. So Drawing 102, we'll talk about illustration first. So our theme for the month in illustration is the scene or the setting or the place. And not just as like a background, not just as like, how do I put my character in a room? That's what we did before. But as a, like having the place have its own characteristics and actually be a part of the story. So if you think about mystical, magical places like Hogwarts, or my husband's a huge like Lord of the Rings fan, so I always go Lord of the Rings, like all of those places on the map of Middle Earth, right? Whether it's the Shire or Mordor or Gondor, or it's been a while, Mines of Moria, right? Like all of those are places that have you know, like emotion tied to them and feeling tied to them. They're their own character, right? So that is really what we're looking at for them. And so they're going to start with a top-down view, very overarching map, and then we're going to zoom in. So we picture like a movie opening credits where we're going to get the lay of the land, and then we're going to get a little bit closer, and then we're going to set our character into that scene. And so so they started with just designing their world. And then some of our kids already have a world that, you know, they have already come to us with this very fleshed out idea of a story and a character and world, and right. And so this is what like they're working on. So we talked a little bit about map mapping. We talked a little bit about what a bird's eye view was, and we started brainstorming that. So I brought a couple of them. A lot of our 102ers like to work in these, instead of a spiral bound sketchbook, they work in a folder, because then they can take the papers out. It allows us to move them around, take them out in color and ink and stuff, and then it doesn't bleed through. So we're just kind of getting an overarching look at our worlds. Now, for our drawing classes, very rarely do they finish a drawing. So it's just working through a process, getting feedback on an idea, and then getting started. They have a wild card week in week 4. So if you're new to classes and you're like, well, that didn't look finished, that's an hour and a half worth of work. It is not an hour and a half worth of work. It is probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, because by the time we do the lesson or do a warm up, do the lesson, do all the brainstorming, do the community building, like where we're giving each other feedback and ideas, and then actually drawing, it works out to about 45 minutes to an hour to drawing, which I know it doesn't look like much, but it takes a long time to draw. So we always have in our 4th week what's called a wild card, where they can go back in and ink those and color those and work on those some more. So we'll have more time for them, I promise. My 102 advanced realistic. Now you guys, so rather than illustrative, right? Their goal is realistic. They are doing a figure month. So we'll do portraiture next month. We're going to do figure this month. So we're looking at the human body. And so we've got in this class, this is my class. one of them that I teach, and I nerd out, you guys. It's like my favorite class in the world. So we did like a little bit of naming of the body parts, and we put in our like skeletal system and our muscular system, and we talked about the way our body can bend, right? Like, so our body can only bend at joints. It can't bend in the middle of our forearm. And it's important to know the body, that our arm bone here and our arm bone here are about the same length, right? So that we're getting the proportions are correct. And then we named them so that you could call them a radius and an ulna and a humerus, just, you know, so that you know what we're talking about, right? It's not your leg bone, it's your femur and your fibula and your tibia. We looked at some pictures of dancers, which I really love, because it's doing like a ballerina, somebody in like a leotard, really shows a lot of the way the body bends, but it also shows a lot of skin, for lack of a better word, and allows us to draw the body in a very child-friendly way. So we looked at bodies in motion. We drew the stick figure and then added on like the flesh and the muscles to try to get it in shape and form. Let's see if this person has. There's another good one. And for a lot of these, we draw, and then we're like, oh, you're most of the way done with it, and you're like, oh, the arms are way too long, the legs are too short. But we don't erase. We just leave it, because that was a great learning exercise. We'll get it next time, right? So a lot of great figure drawings here. These are from observation, from photograph. Now in next week's class, we're going to be looking at drawing the figure again, and we're going to draw from life. So that means from something that's right in front of us. So we're going to take turns being the model, and we're going to draw our classmates in poses. So we'll use the same techniques, this kind of like stick figure, stick man, skeleton, and then adding in the contour. Should be fun. I always like it. And we're going to work really fast. So the poses are like 1 to 4 minutes at the most. And then we'll switch models. So lots of drawings this week. Oh, and we usually get out the dress up clothes, because if you have to stand up there and model, you should get to wear a funny hat. For sure. Here we go. Drawing 103. So they started new projects this week. This is actually a picture from my camera roll. I teach the Tuesday Liberty class. And actually this semester I'm kind of co-teaching with Miss Melissa, because my kids play high school basketball. And so I have to miss a lot in the first month and a half because of basketball games. But so Melissa and I are co-teaching, but I was here Tuesday because my basketball game was canceled due to weather. But so we looked at modern still life, and we started drawing out our composition. So I wanted to show you, this is that same picture that's up on the screen. They did an arrangement of different objects. We looked at art from contemporary artists who do still life, and talked about the different like top-down view versus worm's eye view that we could do. We talked about whether it had a theme to its arrangement. We talked about the arrangement itself and the selection of objects. And so then they took objects from around the studio and played around with putting them there. So once they did their photography, then they did their drawing. So this artist here, which I do love, did a grid drawing method. So we did that in October in our classes. We did grid drawing. So this is, she gridded out her drawing, and then she gridded out her paper, and now she's putting it on there, which I think is amazing. Let's see if I can find somebody else who has a great example. This one was really unique. This was her still life that she did, and then she started to have it drawn out. Now we're going to take these drawings, they will not stay black and white, and we're going to work within color. The curriculum says to use alcohol ink markers, which I will make them at least play with the alcohol ink markers this week. We're going to do a technique worksheet so we can kind of get a feel for them. But if they choose not to use them, that's okay. We will get out the colored pencils. You can't make them do anything, right? Speaking of alcohol ink markers, our illustrative kids love them. So they are doing a 3-panel design this month, and they're using word art in their panels. And so this is some of the brainstorming that they did. Now they're a Monday class in Liberty, so I only have 2 examples because we weren't open on Monday. And so these are ones of people who came in during the alternate times or during the makeup lessons to get theirs done. If you didn't come to class this week in 103s, it's okay, right? If you weren't able to make it and you weren't able to do a makeup session, we'll just start your project this week. And if we get towards the end of the month and you need some more time on it, not a problem. Just as always, you'll have makeup opportunities that you can jump into so we can get that finished. All right, drink some coffee. Did I get everybody? I think so. All right, let's go through some housekeeping stuff. So speaking of makeups, let's go through that really quick. So we do have makeups every week. For the Liberty people, that is on Wednesday nights from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's by reservation. I don't think there are any Wednesdays. Like in the fall semester, we have some days that we take off because it's like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Or but I don't think there are any Wednesdays that we're off this spring semester. Between now and the end of May, we are here. And actually we usually do some makeups even in June because we want people to have a chance, like if you missed class in May, to come in and do it. So we have makeups and they're by reservation. You may not have your same teacher. I know like we rotate our staff on Wednesday nights. So you may have somebody different, but we are all cross-trained in all the curriculum. And so we'll go through your lesson. A lot of times it's very one-on-one. It's not going to take as long. Your makeup isn't, because we are just getting you like caught up and to the point that you need to. So there's no, like in a normal class, right? We welcome everybody in, we take attendance, we maybe have a question of the day, we have a little bit of community building, we maybe have a warm-up activity, right? And then we get down to class. And then once we've gotten through that, we got some discussion or some critique that happened. Like all of that is gone. Like it is literally like, let me tell you what you need to know. And then let's get this step done on your project. So it is a shorter period of time because it is super condensed. So when you're in the classroom, you may be surrounded by 2 other people. You may be surrounded by 14 other people. And everybody's gonna be doing something different, working on a different stage, different project, different lesson. There's usually multiple teachers. Everybody's coming and going at different times. It is definitely not a classroom setting. It's different. So, but we do offer those makeups because we want to make sure that you get the information that you were supposed to get in class, okay? And we get you caught up in those projects. You can also use the makeup policy for additional studio time. So say you're in that pet portrait class for 4th and 5th or for homeschool, and you did take a really long time to get it sketched out on your canvas because you worked really hard on it and you wanted it just a certain way, or you had a more complex image, or sometimes drawing just doesn't work that day, and I get that. So if if you're a little behind on the painting, or you're going more detailed on painting and you didn't miss a class, but you need more time, you can sign up for these times. Okay. So that is what that is for. Friday class, or Friday in Platwoods is when makeups happen. So if you come to a Platwoods class, and you miss it, Friday nights from 5 to 8 is their makeup session. And again, they have a rotation of teachers that come in. Now we do ask that you make a reservation because that allows us to plan our night. There are some makeup times where we're like, we need to call in some more staff. We're gonna need some more people here. And then there's some times where we have to, say, anybody want the night off because we have fewer that are signed up. So, so do make a reservation. That allows us to plan our night effectively. It also allows us to pull materials. Closets are big and there's a lot of art, right? So both studios have almost 200 students. And so finding your particular art sometimes is not seamless, and it's there. We didn't lose it. We just have to find it. And so sometimes that's a boxer to your teacher, be like, hey, where'd you put so-and-so? Like it's there. And with a student standing right there, and then they start to panic, and then everyone's anxiety goes up, like it's there. We will find it. We just have to locate it. So the finding of art usually starts pretty early on in the afternoon here in Liberty, where we start pulling the people that are going to come for makeups and organizing them. So yeah, if you walk in, like we won't turn you away, but it really helps us if you make a reservation so that we can be prepared. Okay. You find that makeup policy information. Sorry, I gotta check my messages because I think this is one of my teachers. Okay, we'll talk in just a second. You find that information on our website. It's located in the footer of every single page. You can also find it in your confirmation emails. And then we try to send emails if you miss a class. We'll say like, we missed you. And then we'll send a message that has the link in it as well. So lots of different places where you can find that makeup policy. All right, save the date. Student art show coming up. End of April. Everybody should come. So every kiddo is invited to submit a piece of art. It can be from Orange Easel. It can be from school. It can be from something they made at home. And then we get together for a really amazing show, and we give out prizes and awards. The submission process will be started in April. So we usually start submissions in April. And then there will be like an RSVP where we'll ask that you like let us know if you're coming, and then that helps us. Last year we did it at the Belvoir Winery. This year it'll be at the winery again, but it will be different. I reserved the entire first floor and the second. So last year we were just in the second floor ballroom, and it was, while all of the art fit in the second floor ballroom, all of the people did not. And so especially like going up the stairs, right? So we'll actually have 3 different rooms to put art in. And so then that way we can spread out a little bit more and be more comfortable. So hope you can make it. Save the date. And then the last thing is next week, starting Monday, our summer sneak peek will be on social media and our email list. So if you want to receive that, if you're like, no, it's okay, I'll just check it out on Instagram, that's cool. But if you'd like it in your inbox, I do not send it to just anybody. So just because you're signed up for classes does not mean I will send you summer marketing. You have to specifically sign up for it, because I will always err on the side of caution of not spamming people. So if you'd like that, go to our website under summer 2025 and sign up. I'll also put the link in our email, but you can sign up for that. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Is there anything else I need to tell you? I don't think so. I think that's it. So, like I said, if you are confused on what is going on because of missed classes last week and makeups and all that stuff, please, 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 send me a message and I will help. Definitely. Best way to reach me, email, Facebook message, or Instagram message. All right. All right. I'll see you guys in the studio this week.